Hello and welcome to another episode where I explain some of the fundamentals of Minecraft. First off, this is the item splitter from Nempom. This is what Nempom used to split out the items from his zombie pigman collection chamber. If you're building large farms, you're going to have to realize that if they're really efficient, you cannot rely on hopper speed to sort it all out. Items will typically land on top of these 9 blocks that are differently colored. For our good example, these are all shorter than 1 block, which means that a hopper can collect underneath them. As you can see here, he's splitting them amongst these 9 or so hoppers, and these 9 or so hoppers will get their inventory taken out of them by these hopper minecarts, and they will in turn split into other hopper minecarts, and then go into hoppers again. Now, what's significant about this is that you split from 9 into 14 hoppers, which all go into one dropper line system. They'll be able to empty out due to how fast these observers are willing to fire. This observer clock firing this dropper will always empty out 2 lines of hoppers going into it pretty nicely. When they are shot out in any direction, they have a set velocity with magnitude and direction. That's why the cobwebs are in place. The cobwebs are there to stop the items from moving. You don't need to do this with everything. You just get a few cobwebs, and in the Nether, where the zombie pigman farm would be used, you do not have access to water. Now, he splits it along these 7 lines, and then he compresses it by using gravity and pushing towards the middle. When there are items in the system, this line is turned on, which pushes this piston down and makes this clock run. The clock runs like this. When this gets power, these 2 will move at the exact same time, and in that case, this will also get powered during a clock cycle, and a piston with a slime block will push the items over into where you need to sort them. Now, if you're planning to build 2 of these right next to each other, basically how I had made my own wither skeleton farm on the EchoCraft server, these items need to be aligned. So we basically take the same concept here, but items fall here and then are pushed by a honey block, which doesn't have a full hitbox of 1 block. I'm up against, but when I put a block here and go up against that block and try to move forward, I am stopped, which means that honey block is not really a full block. Any items that get pushed from this line goes into this line, right? And that, it can fall right in front of the chest, or it can fall right on top of the chest. Now, anything from this line, imagine it being built like this, would fall onto this chest. So the honey block can move it on to these blocks. Now, items stick to the honey blocks, so they'll always be right against the chest when they're pushed. And if anything falls on the honey blocks itself, especially from the middle dropper, that's fine, because when the honey block slides it off, the entities follow and they get stopped by this block, which means that the honey block can actually push those blocks later. Now, after a certain amount of time, after this honey block is extended, items fall, and then this slime block gets triggered, it pushes all the items along. I can demonstrate that here. If we put a block there, that will move all the pistons and stuff. And then the block ends up here. And as you can see, it's right up against the chest. And then when we turn on this system here, it moves all the way across. Now this is 22 to 23 blocks long. As you saw right there, all the observers turn on and off, which means they are exactly on these blocks and on the ice blocks as well. That's why the ice is there, so that the items keep their velocity, right? So that means any item sorters that you put on this line will actively look for any item on the block as it passes through. Now this is in regards to another item moving system. Here is another Nether item moving system. So this is used in Ilmango's Extreme Basalt Farm in peaceful survival. In this system, they use the fact that items move through gravity and they get pushed at the same time. If you think about it, right? When this system starts up, an item on this level will get pushed by this block onto this block. And when they get pushed here, it might not move because it's an item on a block and you don't really have that much friction except for on honey blocks. And the next time it pushes over this block, it will get pushed by this block. And if you didn't know, grass paths are actually taller than soil blocks, even though they look basically the same. So this block pushes this block over to this block, and you can do it for this block, and then it continues on every side so that it gets every corner. And it's important that you get 2 ticks in between each one, because if it's too fast, the items can actually just not move at all. Just a little example here. Make a point here to show it working. As you can see, it's all moving towards the center. You have to imagine this is moving this way, so this frees these 2 blocks, right? And then this is the 4 that is allowed, and then this is the 4 that is allowed when it moves this way, and then this is the 4 that it's allowed that moves this way. That means the only block that it doesn't cover throughout the whole duration, or only allows something to fall through, is this block. So gotta make sure that you get your blocks right, and then from this block you can always do a slime block system down here like I showed over there, and you can have it really tight and compact if you need it to be. But this is also another way to gather items from a large area if you want to do like a TNT blast chamber or something. These are how to move items in streams where you can collect them and move them into sorting systems and stuff like that. These are pretty important if you got farms that have a lot of items that need to be distributed and collected, because either way you're gonna get clogged up if you don't deal with it, because Hopper's speed is not the fastest speed. Let's look into overworld water streams. You don't necessarily need packed ice underneath this, or any kind of ice underneath it. It's just that packed ice is the most bang for your buck. When you want items to flow, you want items to flow through things that do not have a hitbox. So if you turn this on, you'll get a hitbox, right? That won't pass through. But if you don't turn it on, got a hitbox. Also, it is important to use materials or redstone that does not get triggered by items. Otherwise, you're going to limit yourself onto which blocks you can actually put item sorters on. Here's the thing with sorters. You can do the same thing here as you align it, and you should use ender chests, mostly because if they do ever add tile entity moving, these chests won't move at all because they're still obsidian, and these chests might move. Either you go with honey blocks, which you can stick to other stuff, or you can go with ender chests, which are kind of expensive but don't stick or get moved by any other means, right? And you need at least 2 blocks of these non-full blocks to align the items. When it comes in here, it just goes straight into the blocks. On Bedrock Edition, instead of using pressure plates or trapdoors or even slabs in general, you can use buttons. Though I don't know how long that will be in the Bedrock game if they consider Java parity. So do what you wish. Buttons and slabs are pretty non-expensive. So when you go through this, you gotta make sure that you've got something that doesn't obstruct, stop the item from moving. You've got to have a way to cover up the hoppers without covering up the hoppers. You know what I mean? So that the water doesn't flow through and ruin any of your redstone. You'll have a comparator and stuff like that, and if water can flow through it, it'll ruin all of your stuff. You can use iron bars. They're pretty much the one of the cheapest things you can have, especially if you have an iron farm. You could use glass panes if you have librarians you can talk to most of the time. You can go a pretty long way with a little bit of iron. So what if your collection systems are a little bit different? Items might flow onto the water stream, right? Imagine that this is extended, right? And the items that flow onto your collection system get on this trapdoor. What do you do now? Here's how you deal with it. You're gonna have to make this for something like Il Mango's snowball farm. he had items being picked up and being pushed onto this stream. As you can see, these would be compromised if we didn't do this. But now as you put an item through it, you get through it, and any items below will pass through it, pass through it, pass through it, you know. So no items will ever get lost if you do this. It's just something simple that stops the flow of water backwards. Put water on top of that part that you want to slab. And since water from this is going to extend 8 blocks, including the block where it flows down from, you have to go 8 out and build it out like this. This is a little bit smaller than what this would give you. You could build it as small as that, but you'll be losing 1 space of water due to not utilizing the full length of the water stream. So let's talk about why this all matters, right? How slow do you think this is gonna go, right? A hover minecart takes out so much faster, right? But then it's still limited by hopper speed here. So if you see here, if you properly position your minecart hopper entity on top of these 2 hoppers, this hopper will get sucked out fast. Then these 2 hoppers will split, and that's the whole essence of Nembom's thing, so that he could split them apart. He splits it up into other hopper minecarts, and then they're limited by hopper speed from there. And you can see that it splits evenly if you align them correctly. And for farms that you can't collect right through a block, if you do it like this, if you have a collection system that relies on not using many hoppers and funneling hoppers to a specific place, specific side. You know, flying machine do this. Our minecart with an iron bar stuck in it, and that iron bar can be picked up by the slime block, and it can be collected by the hopper minecart and be collected even further through hopper lines that lead to a collection system area. Now these are some of the basics on how to move items into sorting systems efficiently. Yeah, that's all I really got to say about it. We didn't talk about hopper lines or dropper item elevators and stuff like that. You can search that up if you want to. Now here's a little thing that I didn't talk about, and it's about using how water streams work to your advantage. As you can see, this cactus farm is working. We've got the random tick rate pretty high. And this is where we're going to collect our items. Now, a thing that you can do with item collection is that you can make water streams to your advantage. So you only need water streams in these 4 corners, and the items will be probably collected towards the middle. It's a real cactus farm right here. These water streams do not have a point where it can flow to, which is like this. I'll show you what I mean. So this will flow there, but as soon as you do this, it'll flow everywhere. They'll just flow outwards, which is what these guys are doing. And thus, when doing this, their streams are connected, as you can see. These streams flow into each other and keep moving towards the center, or towards a stream that goes to the center. But this is another fundamental thing, is to know how water streams will work with your items. At some point, somewhere, you'll get like a dead space here. And when items drop into this space, they really won't move at all, right? So you gotta really think about how your water is flowing, how it connects to other water streams and stuff like that. But yeah, that's all I've got time for today. Did a little bit of explaining, a little bit of doodads, some things might have not been explained well, but I hope you get the gist of it by looking at these little functions that we've seen here. Have a good day, good night, good life, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.